again in the 8th seed, which means Javier now has his work cut out for him.
Okay, so what does Javier have to do to beat Amulet Titan?
I think the first thing is he needs Dom to stumble. Dom has to not have Amulet on 1 plus Arboreal Grazer the next turn and things start getting out of hand. He needs Dom not to have any Besages because Javier needs to go Tron quickly and then put on pressure. The issue is Amulet is faster, is typically more consistent at doing what it does, and it always goes over the top. So it's going to be a tough road for Javier.
All right, Javier, hometown hero, has his work cut out for him here. It's time for quarterfinal number 3. I'm going to send it on over to Riley and Corey in the booth.
Thanks very much, Maria, and welcome back to the tournament floor here at Pro Tour. The Lord of the Rings, Riley Knight and Corey Baumeister, ready to go for the first time today. Top 8 Magic coming your way, of course. We've already seen our first 2 quarterfinals, Corey, and we're going to round out the 2nd and 3rd. Javier Dominguez, the hometown hero, as we mentioned, playing in his hometown of Barcelona.
Yep.
A tough uphill battle for him ahead against Dominic Harvey.
Yep, absolutely. This is the matchup Javier did not want to play against. I was doing that deck with him. He said Amulet, Titan, and Hammer, the 2 worst ones. Got to get over Dominic Harvey, who is one of the best, if not the best, Amulet player out there.
Certainly one of the most experienced and learned, and he has brought that experience to bear here in Barcelona, getting all the way to the top 8, sneaking in with a 12-4 record. On the other side, Javier Dominguez undefeated yesterday, 14-2 after being awarded a bye after his 13th win. He'll be very happy to be back in the top 8 on Sunday.
Yeah, after starting 2-2 as well. How impressive.
Yeah, just deciding, all right, I'm not going to lose out from here. All right, we kick things off now with an Amulet of Vigor. That's exactly where you want to be in Harvey's position on turn number 1. And Dryad of the Elysian Grove and Valak at the Molten Pinnacle here. Harvey already kicking goals with both feet. Great start for the Canadian.
Yep, absolutely. A solid start. This is kind of poising it for Dominic Harvey to have that Amulet next turn and win the game already. So Javier has to have a really big turn. But, of course, as we know, turn 3 is that big turn timeline here for Tron.
Yeah, the power spike, I guess, if we're talking in esports terminology, comes at turn 3 here for the Tron player, and there it is, 1-2-7.
Yep. Yeah,
1-2-7.
Exactly. Turn 3 is the big turn for both of these decks, but Dom can win as early as turn 2 as well. It's that explosive of a deck.
So let's see what Dominguez wants to do with all this mana that he's unlocked here. First, we're going to kick things off with the Chromatic Sphere. So a kind of tame start.
Yep, starting off with that. And most of the time, you don't really need all 7 pieces of mana for Tron, unlike, the Karn Liberated days where you just automatically used all of your mana on turn 3. Now it is kind of 4 mana for the 1 ring, which will prevent Primeval Titan from dealing damage next turn or Karn the Great Creator to find something useful.
Dominguez cycling away the sphere, 2 mana floating, in addition to, what is that, another 4 mana available with those 2 lands?
Yep, exactly. So
tap the tower.
6 available so far. And I see Sylvan Scrying, Relic, double Ulamog, and Dismember, I believe.
Yeah.
Not a very good hand. You never really need 2 Ulamogs.
Unless you're playing against Kai Buddha, who just continues to cast Mystical Dispute on him.
Exactly, yeah, that's fair enough. I would say in this matchup, it's not as needed.
Cycling away a Relic as well, so it looks like Dominguez is really actually looking for something specific.
Yeah.
Sylvan Scrying going to be going to be cast with that mana that was floating. Let's see what he wants to get here. It's going to be a Tron piece, a utility land. Oh, he's going for the tower. All right.
Tower, and the 2 other lands does mean turn 4 Ulamog. So now Javier is just like, okay, there's no way you can kill me next turn, right?
I'm on 20 life.
That is big for dismembering the Dryad because now, at least if there is a Primeval Titan, there's not Valakut dealing damage as well.
Yeah,
but Dom is moving pretty fast here, so I think Amulet 2 might be doing some damage.
So this produces just a ridiculous amount of mana here. Corey, talk us through what we're seeing. This is unbelievable with the bounce lands, the the Primeval Titans. Both players understand what's happening here. Corey, can you break it down?
Yeah, so what happens is these bounce lands will untap with one amulet. It'll stack, so you'll get to untap twice. So each bounce land adds 4 mana. And now Primeval Titan comes into play. You get Boros Garrison, Slayer Stronghold to give it haste, and then double strike with the Sunhome to wrap it up for double strike.
So that was a remarkably speedy result there as we see Dominic Harvey take out game 1 very quickly. And for new players tuning in, they're going, what just happened? What is this? What is this? But both players fully understood the line there. As you talked about, Corey, people can have a look at these lists. Slayer Stronghold giving haste, Sunhome giving double strike, and when you've got a big hasty trampling double striking Primeval Titan, the game doesn't take too long to do.
Exactly, and it is kind of brutal. Sometimes you can only attack for 16 with Slayer Stronghold because it does give +2/+0 to Titan, and then the double strike, which is 18 damage. But when you have 2 amulets, it untaps twice, so you get to target Primeval Titan with Slayer Stronghold twice.
And Dominguez had cast the Dismember, so he was already on 16 as it was.
That is
so it's largely academic. We're seeing a very similar situation now from Harvey with a copy of Amulet coming out, in addition to Arboreal Grazer, and now a talisman into Ancient Stirrings.
Yeah, and we see double Urza's Tower there for Javier, so that is a horrible start. And on the flip side for Dom, you have Urza's Saga to go get another amulet, and you can actually use the Gardens to copy an amulet as well, which we see just now.
Yeah, the Mycosynth Gardens, a weird card for sure.
Super weird.
But able to copy Amulet pretty readily, as we see, given the fact that the Amulet only costs 1 mana. It makes the Mycosynth Gardens really useful in this specific situation.
So now Urza Saga Chapter 3 is going off. The targets are either Amulet, number 3, which we see, or Expedition Map if you need one of the bounce lands. Or I'm sure plenty of other option in Dom's, 80,000 words on the deck as well.
See, I looked at this deck because I'm a big fan of Primeval Titan, one of my favorite cards of all time. Banned in Commander, so I don't get to play it there, right? So I play Scapeshift in Modern, and that deck's kind of fallen off. So I'm like, oh, Amulet Titan. Maybe I could start playing this deck, and then I take one look and like, oh no, I do not have the brain power for this list. I do not have the grey matter between my ears to keep this list in one piece. It is such an intricate deck. Are we calling it a combo deck?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely a combo deck that's been around for a while, and it's went through a lot of different win cons in the past. It's had Field of the Dead kind of stuff at some point when you wanted to go for a long game. I mean, you've had to jump through hoops to win the games way back in the day with this deck. It's a little more streamlined with how many amulets you can put into play these days.
The old card Summer Bloom used to be one of the biggest problem cards in Modern, banned out of the format because of how powerful it made the Amulet Titan.
Yeah, it was banned because of this deck.
That's exactly right. Yep. But now with the Dryad of the Elysian Grove, we're seeing even more mana being generated, thanks to, again, the Amulets, plural. Don't forget that Mycosynth Gardens is a copy of Amulet's Vigor.
Yep.
And a Summoner's Pact to go and get Prime Time.
And it looks like 2 land drops
excuse
already.
me. Sorry, I see Summoner's Pact. I'm like, Amulet. I'm getting Primeval Titan every single time. But no, we are getting Arboreal Grazer.
The true powerhouse. So Arboreal Grazer does just ramp up for extra mana here, being able to give you 1 more land drops. You see Dom's little land drop counter down there. Played the 2 for Dryad already. Now Grazer just adds the extra 1. And this is not the Titan. Colossus still does some great stuff.
Cultivator Colossus. And we can listen in to Harvey explaining once again the intricacies of this deck. And we're going to see exactly how many lands he wants to put into play here.
Each one you draw a card, and there's going to be, as of right now, 8 triggers on the stack with the Amulet, is what he's explaining.
Not only to untap all these lands, but also bounce one of them with the Simic Growth Chamber.
Exactly.
And the Urza Saga. Oh my goodness. I'm surprised that Dominic Harvey isn't walking with a neck brace into the tournament hall, because just to hold up the size of this guy's brain.
It is, yeah.
Holy
absolute
moly.
Genius with the deck. And look at that, 2 very, very fast games. But now sideboarding does come into play.
Yeah, so now we may see things change a little bit as players have access to their sideboards. But Harvey opening things up with a Gemstone Cavern into Urza's Saga. Poor old Dominguez. I never thought I'd feel sorry for a Tron player. I never thought I would think, oh, Tron is just, oh man, such a shame. Poor old Dominguez here. But this is what he's doing. But the Stone Brain, let's talk about this
Hey,
card.
the Stone Brain is excellent. We've seen Team Handshake Tron bringing this card in a lot of matchups, including the Mirror, just to hope to draw it on turn 2 to be able to interact a little bit earlier. And yeah, I guess we don't have to talk about it anymore because it's been teared under.
Torn asunder, exactly right.
Excuse me, yeah.
So we don't have to worry about the Stone Brain. A relevant piece of interaction here from Harvey, but a slower start from him. Corey, missing that key card, Amulet of Vigor.
Yeah, missing Amulet. You do have Urza's Saga on 2, so Amulet will be joining the party next turn. Both of these decks utilizing Urza's Saga in, slightly more unconventional ways. We see this more of as a value card to just make some constructs. Maybe you play it with Urza, Lord High Artifice, or something like that.
Don't get something like a Shadow Spear. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
something like that.
But now it's an actual real combo piece, like a tutor.
Yeah, for both decks.
Yeah.
You can either get Map from Javier's side to go get Tron piece, or Haywire Might for Disruption, which is going to be excellent here. Haywire Might can actually pick off Urza's Saga if there was green mana.
As it's an enchantment land,
Yeah.
it can indeed be blown up by the might, but not in time before the third chapter procs. The card is sacrificed and replaced instead by a one mana artifact, which you'd have to imagine is going to be a copy of Amulet of Vigor, unless Harvey has a trick up his sleeve here. I was talking with Frank Carsten, the man with the numbers, about what this matchup looks like.
Yep.
He agrees because he generally seems to know what he's talking about. He agrees it's a pretty bad matchup for Dominguez, but he pointed out that some of the best lines for Dominguez involve Khan the Great Creator fetching something like an Ensnaring Bridge from the sideboard.
Yep.
But then you can play around that with Valakut and Dryad of the Elysian Grove. So maybe instead you go for something like the Stone Brain to get rid of the Titan, or a Metamorph, right? Phyrexian Metamorph to copy it yourself.
There you go.
Which isn't too bad in a deck that likes to search out lands, but. Again, all of these lines, you're still playing from the back foot. You're still trying to sort of play from behind in Dominguez's spot. We're kind of labouring the point, but Corey, it is a really rough matchup for Dominguez.
Exactly, and those are really applicable for Game 1, the Great Creator and Ensnaring Bridge, but post-board, as we already saw, there's ways to exile different artifacts and enchantments, as we already saw.
Tear Asunder coming in from the board, of course. You're absolutely right. Oh, man. The Amulet Titan sideboard is just wild. It's so wild.
Speaking of wild, it's always wild to cast Summoner's Pact when you only have 1 mana in play. You're like, I'll figure out how to pay for this a little bit later.
That's future Dominic's problem, all right? And I hate that guy.
So here we see Azusa. So now you get to get this into play. There was one floating, and one floating from the Urza Saga there to be able to cast it.
All right. And we found our 4 mana.
Yeah. So now
The Rot Farm and the Stronghold.
if Javier can deal with any of the lands in any way, then Dom is just going to lose to the Summoner's Pact,
Oh, yeah.
like a Beseiju,
Let's go. Let's go. I do like that. You got to besage you on the Rot Farm, and you force your opponent to lose to the upkeep pack trigger.
Exactly, yep. And you see both players playing lightning fast. They both know the interactions here, or little there is, from both sides of the decks. And just, both players know their deck quite well as well.
Yeah, and seem to have a good understanding of this matchup. Typically, obviously, the bracket is usually released the night before. Like, obviously, last night, they'll know who they're playing against. So you can bet your bottom dollar that both of these players will have been testing this matchup. Their teammates will have been helping them out in testing this matchup. So they'll know what to expect, what cards matter, what cards don't.
No, but the title has trample.
Yep, absolutely. So now this is great. Javier got the One Ring in play, so can start gaining some card advantage.
Might actually die if I attack.
But you can see he's talking through these lines. He just said, I might die if I attack.
But he's forgetting having to pay for Pact. That is maybe an oversight that Javier's having, because no matter what, it's going to be a turnoff.
Ah, I see. So Dominguez should be remembering that Harvey's locked out next turn, essentially. He doesn't have any mana.
Upkeep? Yeah, no problem.
Paying for the pact here.
Well, I
Able
missed
to
the
do
pact.
that. Double
Well, I
green
missed the
thanks
pact,
to
so-
the... And look, Dominguez saying, oh, yeah, the pact, right.
Yep.
The Gemstone Cavern's obviously able to produce the second green mana.
Correct. Yep, absolutely. And getting a little bit of sideboard information. Cards that Dom did not want. 3 of the One Ring in the deck. Brought in Pact of Negation and those Terra Sunders. Javier taking out the 3 relics. No real graveyard interaction. Warping Whale looks like to be taken out, as well as Walking Ballistas.
Okay.
And then bringing in Stonebrain, which we saw, Pithing Needle, Leveler, and those Haywire Mites.
2 copies of the Haywire Might. You can see one of them on the battlefield. And now Khan, the great creator, the headline act in this Tron deck these days, picking up the Stonebrain. And recognizing that the Stonebrain essentially unbeatable here for Harvey, we're going to pack it up and go to a game number 4 here. So Dominguez is on the board. Here's something really interesting, Corey.
Yes.
The Stonebrain exiles itself, right? Which means that it can be picked out of exile by Khan again.
Correct.
In this current modern format, you don't play disenchant effects. You play cards that exile other artifacts because the One Ring has indestructible. So you need cards like Tear Asunder, Haywire Might in order to exile opposing artifacts.
Yep.
The problem with that is that means that Khan can go and get them again. If that had just been an actual factual naturalize instead of the Tear Asunder, it would have been better for Harvey for that Stonebrain to be in the graveyard rather than in the exile zone.
Exactly. How strange that kind of works out, right?
We've got some more sideboard information to share with you as well. Let's have a squiz at what the game number 4 looks like here. It looks like Javier's brought in a relic and taken out a Wormcoil Engine, while Dominic has brought in a One Ring and taken out Gemstone Caverns. What are we looking at here? We got a Stonebrain.
Home Brain on turn 2, the one of once again. Javier's got to be really excited about this. This is kind of how you steal games, is by drawing this. It is a one of right now, since it's in the game. Javier's just realizing, if I have this as a Karn target, it's just too slow, but if I naturally draw it on 2... Now, we will see also Dom can just win right now, depending on the hand.
Okay, well, always an exciting thing to to have on the agenda here.
Yeah, be like, oh, 2 colorless mana, 1 little innocent artifact. No way, I could be dead.
2 permanents, 1 floating mana, but sometimes it is enough, such as the power of Amulet of Vigor. Long-term fans of Modern will have seen this card do its Grim Reaping in this format over the years, and it is still here, kicking it with the best.
So you do still need a relatively good draw to win from this point. You need something like Azusa, Bounce Land plus Titan.
Okay.
You know, you can't just have the traditional, I'll play a Bounce Land, play Titan, then start attacking type thing. So Dom does have to have the goods.
Well, let's see if he has the goods. He's thinking about it, which means that there's obviously some play to it. This is not a bloke who seems to get himself into the tank very often.
Vestige to probably get green mana there. A nice little bounce land at home, if you will.
Yeah, Crumbling Vestige is doing its best impression here.
Okay.
And now a Slayer's Stronghold.
I mean, this is the Stonebrain picking off Titans again. But that being said, without Amulet Titan, you can still Dryad Valakut win if Javier doesn't have an extremely fast and powerful draw.
Even without Scape Shift, Valakut's getting it done. All right, the Stonebrain activated, sent to the exile zone, and it looks like we're going to name prime time.
I don't even know if he said the words. They just both know.
Yeah, Harvey kind of like indicated. Here it is, here it is, here it is, here it is.
I will check the deck afterwards with him.
All right, so writing down the contents of the hand here, something that we'll often see competitive players do at the highest level.
Absolutely.
And Titan goes out.
So
as we can hear there, Dominguez has indeed named Primeval Titan.
Nice call, nice call. So you will take those out of there, but Dom does get to draw a card since it was in hand.
So here Dominguez is not only exiling all of these Primeval Titans, he is also essentially looking at what Harvey's sideboard plan is.
Exactly.
Takes note of the Tear Asunder that's in there, of course, and he's going to pluck out these prime times. Or he's already found all 4 of them. You can see them there over in the exile zone. And now just having another look through, bit of recon.
Yeah, and basically what Javier is looking for right now, number 1, what was sideboarded in and out. Number 2, how can you win? Because now that's going to be the thing that Javier is going to try to shut down again. Sometimes these Tron decks are really proactive. Sometimes they play more like a prison-style deck where you just shut out any ways to win the game, maybe with Ensnaring Bridge like we saw at the end of yesterday.
And Harvey, very sportingly, keeping his hand revealed so Dominguez... Oh, no, never mind. Sometimes you'll see that just to save time. Players will play with the cards that have been seen face up. But as Dominguez has written them down, it's much of a muchness. So Harvey now needs to find a way to win this game as we see a Pithing Needle on Boseiju.
Yep, makes a lot of sense. Really, the only targets are Boseiju, Urza's Saga, the One Ring, and they're all in both players' decks.
Yep.
So Harvey now, we're going to see the One Ring for 4 mana. Dominguez knew about this. He could have named it with Pithing Needle, but maybe he's got a One Ring of his own that he wants to make sure he can get value from.
Does, and could have Karn the Great Creator to shut off other rings. But yeah, as it stands right now, I believe we see Worm Coil, the One Ring in hand, and then some
Boseiju.
green cards.
Boseiju as well, so we're going to see Harvey play that land instead of activating its ability thanks to the Pithing Needle shutting it down.
Just drew natural Tron here, so that saves a ton of mana by having to activate map. So, I mean, that just increased Javier's mana output this turn by like 5 or 6.
Dominguez thinking about what he wants to do with the Urza's Saga. He's going to float and then obviously sacrifice it with a third counter.
See what the find is here.
Map, Haywire Might.
Haywire Might seems really good against the One Ring.
Haywire might be the call.
Only knows one. So the one reason that maybe Javier won't actually just go, okay, Tron right away, and maybe cast Worm Coil Engine, the One Ring is more important right now, so we could easily still see Expedition Map sacked for just a forest if you don't have a Chromatic Star, Chromatic Sphere type effect, and just Haywire Might, the One Ring, just get it out of there.
The One Ring has been pretty dominant in Modern throughout this weekend.
Yep, even better to get the Sphere here, then you have the green source so you can play Tron as well. So nice play there from Javier.
Does he have the Haywire Might in hand?
Haywire Might from the Urza Saga.
No, he just fetched the...
Okay, so he was thinking about it. Okay, absolutely. Yeah, I'm not sure if we have one in hand. We're going to see.
Hey.
I think that was a Leveler.
Cityscape Leveler? I think you're right.
Yep.
Yep.
Leveler, Ancient Stirrings, or just, so basically it's all creatures right now, so we might see that green just fired off with the Stirrings to try to find Karn the Great Creator. That's really the card you want right now.
Green and Pool for the hometown hero. And Natural Tron available to him, Corey?
Natural Tron was drawn. There's also the map, so you do have the ability to go search up Boseiju, but the Pithing Needle on there, so probably not going to see that line. We're not going to use that line, excuse me.
And there's the Ancient Stirrings.
Yep.
That green mana coming from the Sphere, I believe. Haywire Might off the top. I think that was a Karn as well.
Ulamog and Karn.
Ulamog
So
and Karn.
really the world as an option. I think Karn was the choice. Ulamog being very good, but what getting Ulamog would say here is, okay, next turn I could Ulamog you, great, but right now Javier wants to play something impactful right now and shut down some things from Dominic. Shutting down the One Ring with the static being another one, and just going to find something for 3 mana could be very big as well.
We've seen the explosive potential of Amulet Titan, or as it is now after the Stone Brain, Amulet. And so Dominguez, I think, respecting that, respecting the fact that Harvey could get up to some nonsense
Yep.
if there isn't something else put on the battlefield that makes a difference to the board as it is now. Let's have a look at what's in Dominguez's sideboard. Ooh, thinking about a
Phyrexian Metamorph.
Phyrexian Metamorph. Is that to maybe make another Pithing Needle?
Basically, it's being mana efficient. I feel like every Magic player puts that kind of stuff to the front. Be like, all right, if I Karn, I can immediately...
I want to cast something that costs 3 mana because otherwise I'm leaving value on the table.
But the one thing it would do, you could play Dryad and then play another land if you want. I don't know how impactful that is, especially with not having another land.
You
Basically,
could also cast a 3 mana The One Ring.
a 3 mana One Ring?
Yeah, if you cast the Phyrexian Metamorph and copy the One Ring.
Oh, very true. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that could be very reasonable because that does shut... Yeah, that's much better line. Absolutely. Being able to shut down your opponent's ring and have a ring.
That's the other thing. Don't forget about this Karn the Great Creator. It shuts down the opposing The One Ring. Doesn't shut down the Amulet of Vigor. That's a triggered ability, not an activated ability.
Very true.
It's still good to go.
But the Stone Brain already shut that down because you really don't need the
Yeah.
Amulet mana anymore.
Yeah. There's it always feels good to play an untapped Valakut. But no, I take your point. It's definitely not having its the impact that it would otherwise.
You can also just get the Stone Brain again and get it set up for next turn. And basically, if you Stone Brain Valakuts at this point, there's only Colossus plus Urza's Saga tokens to get out of it.
The Constructs and the Cultivator Colossus, your only real avenue to victory from there. Or Azusa.
There we go.
The old 1-2. Get in there.
Take one, or of course, your opponent just being heavily burdened.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Could happen. We've seen stranger things happen at this Pro Tour, Corey.
The last time we were in the booth,
Yes,
if you
indeed.
will.
Holy moly. If you're just joining us for the top 8, wow, what a pleasure it is to have you. Welcome. By all means, welcome. But you are definitely going to want to go back and have a look at some of the matches we've seen throughout the weekend. Some wild ones from throughout the Swiss rounds. So do yourself a favor and bookmark some of those VODs when they go up so you can get across them. But right now, Dominguez thinking what he wants to search up with this Khan. It has resolved. 5 loyalty on it. Downstairs by 2 to go and search something out of the sideboard. And a key decision point here for Javier Dominguez.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Basically, just nothing's that super impressive at this particular stage. So Javier's just deciding, do I want to get something to set up for next turn or just something that I can cast now? You even see a relic pulled up front, which is less than ideal.
He's surely not thinking about Sundering Titan.
Yeah, Sundering Titan. I mean, Sundering Titan is very good, but you can get that next turn. Because there's a cute little interaction, Riley.
Yeah.
When all your lands are every type, Sundering Titan has 5 targets.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, no. I was looking at Harvey's lands and I was like, well, he doesn't have any basics. Like,
Oh,
he
he's
doesn't
got
have
all the basics.
Doesn't have any basic types. Sundering Titan's just a 7/10.
Besage is an island. It's also a swamp.
Oh, my goodness. But, of course, with the Dryad of the Elysian Grove, the whole point of playing that is that it makes all your lands mountains as well as everything else, so your Valakut procs. But, no, that turns Sundering Titan into a quintuple Stone Rain.
So more than likely, we're going to see Karn next turn tick down and then Sundering Titan. That's why it was ticked up this turn, just basically so you can't kill it. You know, if it gets ticked down and Javier goes for something like Relic, Metamorph, something like that, then Dryad attacks it down to 1, and now you can't get Sundering 5 Stone Rain Titan.
Oh, dude. And then on the way out as well, the Sundering Titan kills another 5 basics. Oh, I know it's kind of disgusting, but I can't wait to see this.
Yeah, and to be fair, Dom does have that Pact of Negation in hand that we saw very early on.
Yeah.
So that still will be a way to prevent that for a little bit.
But does he have double blue?
He's got 5 islands.
As we've talked about. As we've talked about, Corey. As we've talked about.
All
Wow,
right.
this Dryad of the Elysian Grove is really just a great big spanner in the works on so many different axes here.
Yeah, most of the time it's only positive for Dominic, but it can have that kind of implication as well. And yeah, without Titan, you're not really going to see a way to just win the game this turn. Something like Valakut to deal 3, second Valakut will deal 6, and that's 9 damage. Dryad could attack for 2, 11 damage right there is kind of the most. But one thing you could do is get a construct here, and if there is a land, you could give it haste with Slayer Stronghold. There is a Rot Farm, and that can be played twice, so that's 4 mana.
Sure.
Yeah, and that's what we're seeing here. Look, Harvey is building up a bunch of mana here. We saw him reach for those mana counters.
And it doesn't work where you can go like, all right, I'll do blue and red off Rot Farm and then blue and green. You know, you can either tap it for green and black,
Yep.
or you can tap it for one of any color, you know, so.
Yep.
Okay, so there is the 4 mana. Playing the Rot Farm, bouncing itself, playing the Rot Farm again, bouncing itself.
7 total.
So Rot Farm in hand.
Okay.
And now Cultivated Colossus is the play. All right, this is a huge creature.
Yes. Oh, I mean, this can get haste as well.
Oh, thanks to the Slayer's Stronghold.
And there is Sunhome.
Sunhome.
If there is enough lands here,
Don't forget, all of these lands tap for all 5 colors.
Dom did not have any lands when he started this Colossus, so has drawn land. To be fair, the deck is mostly lands, but still, this could really mean the end
So
of Javier.
triggers here. This is going to make I have to return something eventually, and then we're going to make.
So Dominic Harvey talking Javier through exactly what he's doing here.
So power and toughness is equal to the number of lands. So right now we have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is a 10-10. Dryad is 12.
Has to bounce one of the lands, I believe.
Yep. So it'll be a 9-9, but with Slayer Stronghold, it's 11. Dryad makes it 12-13. Construct cannot get haste now because the other Slayer's, the Slayer Stronghold is tapped now.
You're 18.
Yes.
But 1, 2, 3, 4, double strike it. I mean, I believe you can just give it double strike with Sunhome right now.
And is that enough? Is that lethal here?
Let's
Dominguez on 18 life.
let's see.
For all his careful planning.
Javier could just be, or Dom could just be playing around thinking, what can you have? Because I believe the Colossus has 11 power, and if you give it double strike, that is 22.
So picks up the Crumbling Vestige. Golgari Rot Farm. Bouncing the land to its hand. Its controller, to its owner's hand. And you can see Harvey currently now crunching those numbers. Corey Baumeister sitting next to me doing exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
And this game could be over if Harvey can conjure up 18 damage from a board that did not look like it was capable of one-shotting Dominguez at the end of his last turn. Played the Khan, went upstairs, was ready for something huge like a Sundering Titan next turn. All of a sudden, that play looking a lot less impressive now that Harvey has 500,000 lands in play.
So we'll go to combat.
And needed that Colossus, too.
So here's the attack, maybe?
Just thinking, what can you possibly have to stop this?
Well, we know that Dominguez basically doesn't have anything.
Exactly, yeah.
He is as close
But Dom's thinking, what could you
Yes,
possibly
yes,
have?
Yes. So here's the attack. The Cultivator Colossus.
28,
Has haste
19, 18.
thanks to the Stronghold.
Yep, the Slayer's Stronghold giving it +2/+0 and haste. And Vigilance as well, right? It shouldn't be tapped.
It should be untapped, yeah.
It should be
A
untapped.
very minor thing, but definitely.
So it looks like Harvey's trying to figure out if where this damage is going. And a judge has noticed, yeah, this card should be untapped, yep. But it is attacking. Important to note, it is attacking.
Yep.
Double strike.
So there's a 9-9?
It's currently 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 11, 9.
11-9.
So 11-9 that can be given double strike here.
Yep. I mean,
Dominguez has a quick read of the card.
I was trying to think if there's any reason I'm missing something that this Slayer Stronghold is not going to be activated. You can attack Golgari Rot Farm. Okay, so the map is a creature.
Yes, it was made a creature
Yeah.
by the Khan, so it's going to block the Dryad, but the double strike from Sunhome is enough to get the
22.
Cultivator Colossus across, and Dominic Harvey beats Javier Dominguez from a position that just looked more or less impossible for him. Holy moly, the Stone Brain getting rid of all the Primeval Titan. But for Dominic Harvey, he says, no Titan, no problem. I'll get you with the Cultivator Colossus.
Exactly. That looked like an impossible situation. It looked like an impossible situation that Dominic was even going to be in the top 8. Was supposed to be in 9th place. The double draw on the last one got him into 8th, got him into a great matchup, and he kind of made that matchup look easy.
Well, in that last game, the Colossus had to hit the Sunhome and enough mana to activate it, and he did that with mana to spare by the look of things. So
Yeah.
full credit to Dominic Harvey putting on a clinic with the deck that he knows and loves. And look, even though Dominguez bows out at this stage, it's still been so excellent to see him thrive and flourish in his hometown of Barcelona.
And back-to-back. And back-to-back #1 seed.
Yeah.
I mean, that is just incredible. The first one into the top 8 of not only this Pro Tour and the last one is definitely nothing to, something to still be proud of for sure.
And his tale is not yet fully told, of course. We'll be seeing Dominguez in the future, but right now we're going to check in with the victor, Dominic Harvey, who is standing by with Will Hall.
Dominic Harvey, Titan Master. You just won your match against arguably one of the best players currently playing the game in Javier Dominguez. I feel like that's quite favourable for you. What are your feelings on that matchup?
Yeah, Tron typically going back 8 years or more at this point has always been a good matchup for Amulet. This time I'm on the draw because I'm 8th seed in the top 8. I'm against, as you said, one of the best players in the world right now. Their build of Tron, though, is built to be a little bit more resilient at the cost of speed and explosiveness, and so I think that gives me an edge where I'm trying to be fast, they're trying to be fast. It's just a race at the end of the day. So I felt pretty confident, and then when I was up 2-0, was feeling even more confident, then made what I think could have been a pretty big blunder in Game 3, lost that game. Game 4 was looking a little dicey, and I could already start piecing together how this was going to end in my head. But luckily was able to get Game 4 and moving on to the semis.
You do what a lot of combo players do when they're about to win. You move really quickly when you know, I've got the win, I just need to work it out. So I want to talk about this 8th place. You Yesterday when I spoke to you, I think I'm in ninth. I think I'm in ninth. Because of how the standings paired out and how it all filled out, you managed to sneak in 8th place. Tell me the feelings when you found that news out that you managed to get 8th place at this Pro Tour.
The last few hours yesterday were this complete emotional roller coaster like I've never experienced before. So I did the math with some friends of mine. We thought I maybe was playing a win and in. I won my match, but wasn't taking anything for granted. Come out of the feature match area. Turns out I was playing for night the whole time. So I thought. So I'm just there waiting for the round to end. Wondering what's taking them so long. Can they hurry up, please? We've got to get out of here, get to dinner. Turns out I was pretty glad they didn't hurry up because that draw created this perfect storm of events that allowed me to get into 8th. So was not expecting to have this opportunity. I started the tournament 0-2 on Friday and was already kind of mentally counting myself out. So even to be in contention was this unexpected blessing. And now that I have this as well, there's just miraculous ton of events again. I'm going to try and make the most of it.
Well, congratulations. Thank you very much.
Well, Harvey certainly making the most of the chance he was given at this top 8. We're going to take a quick break, my friends. On the other side of it, we've got Jake Beardsley coming up against Marco Del Pivo Rakdos versus Rhinos as we round out our quarterfinals here in Barcelona, Spain at Pro Tour, the Lord of the Rings.